80 non-metro counties here in Minnesota, and we have been around for over 30 years. We are regional economic and community development foundations, all of us heavily involved in early childhood. I'm here on behalf of all of the presidents to express support for both SF 538, which you, Mr. Chairman, have sponsored, as well as the bill sponsored by Senator Carla Nelson from my part of the state. This bill would provide $3 million split among the 6 initiative foundations to facilitate community solutions to the region's child care crisis, to build local support for child care providers, to provide training opportunities for providers and employees, and to recruit providers to participate in Parent Aware, the state-sponsored quality early childhood standards. The 6 initiative foundations have invested in and supported early childhood for over 20 years. We've worked collaboratively with First Children's Finance, and I know that they will be here testifying on your bill, Mr. Chairman, and other regional partners in building and nurturing communities for thriving children. For example, over 100 communities in greater Minnesota have engaged in working together to create community coalitions to ensure that all young children have access to high-quality early care and education. The Initiative Foundation's facilitation process for rural communities has led to community members working collaboratively on addressing early childhood shortage concerns and quality. This has led to an ongoing work with community members, child care providers to create action plans. Quality is so important because 90% of a child's brain is developed in their first 5 years. Since most children are in child care settings, we know having providers trained and given resources for their business is key to assuring that these children are ready for school and life once they leave that provider. In our Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation region in particular, we know that there's a need for over 8,600 child care slots just in our 20-county region. So as part of our community work, we also provide local training for providers to remove barriers like transportation and high fees. This has led to the retention of providers along with the enrollment of new providers. Specifically, our child care quality program, and this is along with my testimony, a fact sheet that was delivered to you. We have a case study that shows that this interactive approach has led to high-value outcomes. For example, over 40% of our quality child care attendees begin the Parent Aware process. That's compared to a statewide average of 23% that have begun that Parent Aware process. An average of 97% of the attendees rated the training as high value. 83% increased their knowledge and skills to support child development. 96% increased the quality of their business skills. The providers in the Southern Minnesota region self-report that they are staying in the field because of the programming, networking, and support they receive. In all, as you can see by this fact sheet, we've provided so far this quality child care training in all of our 20 counties in our Southern Minnesota region, and nearly 700 providers have taken this training so far. The funding in this bill would then augment and allow us to continue that training well into the future. There's no question that if we want to reduce the opportunity gap, create engaged citizens, and produce a strong workforce, we have to continue to invest in quality early childhood that support the whole child. We strongly believe that SF 537 will allow all of the 6 initiative foundations to continue kind of work that I've just described, and I thank you for your consideration.
I think at this time we'll proceed with the other testifiers and then open it up for questions. Excuse me, a quorum is now present, so you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Dan Dorman. I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Minnesota Partnership. Partnership advocates on behalf of economic development programs in Greater Minnesota. Our focus is on Greater Minnesota only. And new to us last year was Childcare. And we have our organization, our sister organization, the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. We have over 200 members across Greater Minnesota. And increasingly, they have reported that their number one issue or number two issue is childcare, and not from a standpoint of anything except for economic development. For a lot of our communities, they're having problems filling jobs that are vacant, and it is a recruiting issue that needs to be addressed if we're going to continue to recover and grow jobs in greater Minnesota. Mr. Penny mentioned, or former Congressman Penny mentioned, the just in southeastern Minnesota, the figure there, but if you look throughout the state, where that is repeated in every corner of the state. You should have a couple of handouts. You just got this one. This is from the Center for Rural Policy, and there's a couple of things on there that it shows you where the shortages are. But I think the thing to keep in mind is, well, this is a problem throughout the state. It's really critical in greater Minnesota. And why is that? In greater Minnesota, we are much more dependent on family providers, almost an inverse. About 2/3 of the care is done by a family provider in greater Minnesota, about 1/3 in a center. When you get to the metropolitan area, flip that around. And so for whatever reason over the last decade, people have different ideas of why this might be, but both the metropolitan area and greater Minnesota has lost family centers. But since we're twice as dependent on them, it is a much more acute situation in greater Minnesota. In fact, the last 10 years, we've lost 15,000 slots, while in the metropolitan area, we've been able to add 3,000. And it's really a hindrance to economic development. And we're hoping that we think this bill will go a long way to help stabilizing that market and improving the profitability of centers, hopefully, centers and in-home providers, hopefully building capacity is the ultimate goal.
Thank you. Are there any, excuse me, does anyone have any questions for the testifiers or for Senator Nelson? Senator Franz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Nelson, for bringing this forward. Mr. Dorman, Congressman Penny, if I can still call you that, we had about a half a dozen child care groups we convened in our area. Thank you for one of them that you helped organize. We had some questions from family providers about the Parent Aware program and the star rating system. Are you able to share with us any of the feedback you've gotten from providers? I'm supporting it. I certainly support the bill, but I think it'd be good to put on the tape a little bit if there has been any feedback, what it's been and how we can use that to shape the policy as we go forward. Thank you.
Again, thank you, Senator Frantz. We, as I said in my testimony, we've offered this quality child care training program in all of the 20 counties in our region. And you can see that we've had funding from a variety of other organizations, MARDAG, Blue Cross Blue Shield, even Deed, the Otto Bremer Trust, et cetera, to offer these trainings in our region. We do that in collaboration with Families First, which used to be called Childcare Resource and Referral, and First Children's Finance. Together, we created this curriculum. It is eligible for continuing education credits for the childhood providers that attend these sessions. Most of the child care providers that attend our training sessions are in-home providers, because the vast majority of the slots in southern Minnesota are provided in in-home settings. But we want to make sure that all early child providers have this quality training. It is business training, but it's also designed to get them on the Parent Aware for School Readiness track. We stress at these trainings that, first of all, quality is important, and there's certain learnings that we present at these training sessions that help them deal with social and emotional challenges, other techniques to work with children in their care. But we also stress to them that there is a higher CCAP payment for those providers that are on the Parent Aware track, and that there are scholarships available to every county in the state for low-income families who have children placed in a center that's on the Parent Aware quality track. So we do our best to make sure they understand that it's not just the value for the children, but there's also finances that support this quality approach. There has been some skepticism initially about Parent Aware that has subsided substantially in the last 3-4 years since we've been offering these trainings in our region. But there are still a handful of providers that are full and don't know that it's critically important for them to pursue this. But that's part of the public education effort, just to continue to stress that quality is important, and getting on the parent-aware track is what the state needs to commit itself to if we want all of our children to come to kindergarten ready to learn. Because very often, if they're not on a par as they enter that kindergarten classroom, they don't catch up.
Anyone else? Senator Eichhorn?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Nelson, I'm just wondering, with the Minnesota Initiative Foundations being made up of 6 regional foundations, kind of how was that divided up amongst the 6 different, the different regional foundations?
Thank you, Senator Eichhorn. It is very regional throughout the state, and they're pretty equally divided if you look at the map, but I'm going to have Congressman Penny, our Executive Director, further describe that in detail for you.
I should have brought the map. Thank you, Senator Nelson. In the midst of the farm crisis in the 1980s, the McKnight Foundation, which then was the largest family foundation here in our state, it's still among the largest foundations in the state, determined that they wanted to do something to help rural Minnesota recover from that deep depression. And so they seeded the creation of 6 regional foundations, largely following boundaries that had been established through the regional development commissions. In our case, in southern Minnesota, we're a 20-county region, which encompasses Region 9 and what had been Region 10. So it's everything south of the Twin Cities, as far west as New Ulm and Fairmont, as far east as the Mississippi River. The Southwest Foundation covers everything from Hutchinson down to Pipestone, about an 18-county region. West Central covers everything in the Morris, Fergus Falls, Detroit Lakes area. The Northwest Foundation is the Moorhead, Bemidji area and the counties surrounding there all the way up to the Canada border. The Central Initiative Foundation is the St. Cloud, Little Falls, Brainerd Lakes area, everything over to the Wisconsin border. And then, of course, there's kind of the Arrowhead Northland Foundation that covers Duluth and the Iron Range.
Brief follow-up. So the actual money piece itself, is that pretty evenly spread out between the different groups?
We're asking in this legislation that it be dispersed evenly among the 6 foundations. The population in these regions differs. The number of providers in these regions differs, but the challenges are the same and the goals are the same. And we've all done this training in our regions over time. I've just given you the fact sheet on what we've achieved in our 20-county region. But all of them have done this in partnership with the other organizations that I mentioned. It's been a collaborative effort. So we know how to do this. We have a good reputation within our regions as to how to do this, and could put this money to good use.
Senator Egan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just want to thank you for bringing this bill forward, Senator Nelson. And I serve on the working group on childcare access. We've held meetings throughout the state, and this truly is a crisis situation that we're facing, especially in the rural areas. And Mr. Dorman, as you said, it's especially pronounced in the rural areas. It's a more unique situation with the home care that we really depend on. And this really does recognize the uniqueness of that situation, this bill. And so thank you for bringing that forward. And I'm also happy about the focus on the quality as well as the quantity of child care access in rural Minnesota. So thanks for all the work you're doing.
I understand there's some other testifiers that are here now. So Senator Coran, go ahead, and then we'll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Quick question. So with the Parent Aware program, Senator Eichhorn just talked about the disbursement of the funds through the 6 regions. Who's been the primary beneficiary of the program as it relates to, or the percentage of distribution or impact on based on home-based child care versus child care centers?
Primarily home, but they're all eligible for this.
Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Senator Ralph. Senator Coran. Of course, all providers have the ability to participate in the training. As I understand it, today, mostly it's the in-home care providers who have benefited from the Child Care Aware.
Okay. Thank you.
I do have one question before we go forward, and I'm not sure who would be the person that would answer this, but can someone just walk through very, very quickly what it takes for a provider? How do they get into the program? What's the cost? The reason I ask this is I believe
Yes. In each of our regions, because all of the regions have provided the kind of training that I've described in this fact sheet, we advertise locations and dates for the training programs, and then the providers apply or register with our respective offices to sign up for specific training sessions that are most convenient for them. They are always held in the evening or on Saturdays because these folks are busy all day long, as you can understand. We do not charge. And in our case, we also add additional resources to send home with each of these folks. For example, we have a partnership with 2 publishing companies located in Mankato, Abdo Publishing and Capstone, and we give each of the people that come for this training book resources that they can take back and use in their early childhood setting. So again, long story short, we set these up across our regions and offer these trainings in the evening or on weekends so that it's convenient for individuals to participate, and we do not charge for the training program. So all of that is designed to get more of the people into this training program and on the Parent Aware Quality Track. And we also provide continuing education credits. We've been certified to provide continuing education credits, which all providers need to pursue each year in order to keep their licensure.
Senator Nelson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if I could just add a little bit to that and also refer you to the document that should have been handed out to you today. It talks a little bit about understanding Parent Aware, the 4-star rating. I know some of you were here at the very beginning when we started talking about making sure that children are prepared for kindergarten when they get there, and how these early years greatly determine the advantage or disadvantage that children will have when they enter those doors for kindergarten. And some of you will recall the MELF bill. I see, I know Senator Eakin, you and I were here in 2011 when the former Senator, Dwayne Benson, was the executive director of MELF, Minnesota Early Learning Foundation. And it was revolutionary because certainly the brain science was coming in that was showing how incredibly important this window of brain development is in making sure that children get the stimulation, the activities, and the care that is going to help them be successful in kindergarten. And Senator Benson was very innovative in that he went out, our private sector providers were finding that, one, they wanted to close the achievement gap, make sure that we need all of our kids. We need all of our kids to enter kindergarten ready to earn. I'm putting on my education hat, Mr. Chair. But we need to make sure all of our kids enter kindergarten ready to learn. And at the end of those 12, 13 years, our employers were finding that they weren't able to get the workers that they needed. They weren't able to have the training that was needed. And so innovatively, Senator Benson then went out and gathered $20 million, no small amount, from private employers. Yeah. To say this is important and we're going to invest. That was the starting of Parent Aware. And just know that it's a program that uses best practices to prepare children for kindergarten. All providers, whether they choose to participate in Parent Aware or not, follow the same framework. It's called the Knowledge and Competency Framework. Parent Aware is just one way to help further cement that and help providers better provide that quality care.
Thank you, Senator Nelson. We're running a little long, so I do note that there are some other testifiers. I think Julie Seidel is here. So if we can keep, I'm sorry. Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry. We have Scott Marquardt and Heidi Hagel. Are they in the audience? So we are running a little late, so if you can keep your remarks brief, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I am Scott Marquardt. I'm Vice President of Southwest Initiative Foundation. As Mr. Penny indicated, we're an 18-county region serving Southwest Minnesota and 2 Native nations, Ortonville to Laverne, Jackson to Litchfield. You've all heard the stats about the child care shortfall in our region. It's at least 4,700 slots alone. We do go on record saying it's the fastest growing economic development issue facing our region today. We daily basis hear from our loan customers and the businesses in our region that it's significantly impacting their ability to attract or retain talent that they need to compete in a global economy. So from our perspective, of course, it's about the children, but I'm here because it's a business retention and expansion issue. It's stifling our ability to promote an entrepreneurship ecosystem and for our companies to grow in the area. There are countless stories of shortfalls in communities. One point I do want to emphasize, though, in additional complexity and urgency related to the child care crisis is the growing diversity in our region and in greater Minnesota. We're home to Worthington, the most diverse city in Minnesota per capita, according to American Community Survey data, with over 33 languages in its school district in a town of over 13,000 people. In addition to Wilmer, which is home to over 71 businesses owned by people of color in a town of 20,000. Why that's relevant to this conversation is this bill would allow the initiative foundations to help facilitate culturally respectful and culturally appropriate child care conversations and solutions for our Latino, Somali, Karen, Micronesian, Hmong, and Native American populations in our region and all of the diversity throughout greater Minnesota. That's very significant to us. As Tim noted, we've been doing business development and technical assistance since our inception, and this bill really emphasizes our ability to do business planning, financial analysis, access to capital, and training in operations and succession planning. To us, childcare is a business. I cannot emphasize that enough. Whether you're a nonprofit or for-profit by charter, we consider them an enterprise and a business and a sector that's critical to the economy as anything else. So the focus on quality training, quality technical assistance, and business development is very important. I do want to emphasize that this work is not done alone. Partnerships with First Children's Finance, Childcare Aware, the community colleges are all critical. So I do want to thank you for the time to address you today and to talk about this. It's very important to our region, and we're very confident this investment would leverage all of our other resources. Just recently for us, some of the investments we've made with support from DEED grants and DHS grants have helped to create or retain over 500 slots, and we've got a lot of work to do. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Marquardt. Heidi Hagel-Braid.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Heidi Hagel-Braid, and I'm the Chief Program Officer at First Children's Finance. We are a nonprofit organization based in Minnesota, and we work on the business side of childcare, ensuring that childcare businesses remain financially stable and sustainable. And we're also committed to ensuring communities have a supply of high-quality childcare to meet the needs of their regional economy. We are highly supportive of this bill. We have been long-term partners with the Minnesota Initiative Foundations, and since 2013 have been working very intensely on rural child care supply building in partnership with the Minnesota Initiative Foundations. There is a high correlation between regional economic development and high-quality child care, and this investment would leverage, as Mr. Marquardt mentioned, all of the other private and public dollars that are working to build supply in rural communities. And I would be happy to answer any questions at this point, but I want to keep my comments brief this morning.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Braid. Is Julie Seidel and Stacy Stout in?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Stacy Stout with the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for the opportunity to testify this morning in support of Senate File 537. The Minnesota Chamber has over 2,300 member businesses, most of whom are small to medium-sized businesses. And the number one concern we hear, as everyone here knows, is the workforce shortage. And we all know that it is tied to our child care shortage. When a potential employee can't find childcare, that does impact the employer, and a job can't be filled. To increase the number of childcare facilities and providers, we support targeted resources in childcare aligned to parent-aware ratings. We look at this issue from two perspectives. One is addressing our current need, but also looking at our future need of a workforce. And that is why we feel so strongly that it needs to be tied to quality. We need to ensure that students are kindergarten ready in order to close that preparation gap, as has been mentioned previously this morning, so that ultimately we are closing the achievement gap and these kids are graduating from high school ready for the workforce. Therefore, we support this legislation because it will help communities to increase their number of childcare providers, and as well as increase the level of participation in the Parent Aware program. To keep our workforce challenges from hampering economic growth, we must encourage growth of high-quality childcare providers. So we hope that you'll support this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Julie Seidel, and I'm the Public Policy Director for the Minnesota Association of Child Care Professionals, and also a licensed child care provider in Anoka County for 17 years. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to hear my testimony today. While we believe these bills have good intentions, they will not resolve the shortage of child care in rural Minnesota, or any part of the state for that matter of fact. The entire child care shortage has come from a loss of more than 3,500 family child care homes. We aren't losing centers, we aren't losing school-based programs. Even with funding awarded over the last couple of years, family child care providers have continued to close their doors at a rate of 1 to 2 per day. Money is not the answer to this problem. The only way we will increase affordable care options in Greater Minnesota is by focusing on the needs of providers who are closing their doors, family child care providers. We need the regulatory reform we have been fighting for years. We need fair expectations and basic due process. The funds in this bill will primarily benefit centers and are tied to the parent-aware rating system, which is much more difficult and burdensome for a family child care provider than any other type of program. I am speaking from experience, as I've been in the program for 6 years and I've gone through 3 rating processes. While there have been some improvements, more improvements must be made before it is both family child care friendly and a true measure of quality. While school-based programs are handed an automatic 4-star rating and child care centers are able to spread requirements for parent-aware across several staff, directors, teachers, and aides, family child care providers are solely responsible for the copious amounts of paperwork, training, and additional requirements which most of us need to complete outside of our 50 to 60-hour direct care weeks. As a family child care provider, to obtain my first rating, I had to take hours of additional training above and beyond license requirements, fill out observation forms, hold parent conferences, and then create 141 pages of documentation. They lost 41 pages of my documentation when I submitted, having to recreate them. The parent-aware coaches are strongly encouraging family child care providers to start at a 1-star and work their way up to 4 stars. This allows for a provider to receive quality improvement grants at each star level until you reach 4 stars. Unfortunately, there are no monetary rewards for a 4-star rated program. The unintended consequences of starting at a 1-star rating is that parents are equating child care star ratings to other rating systems that are used for, such as hotels or restaurants. Why would a parent choose a 1-star family child care program when they can choose a 4-star school or center program? Encouraging a provider who could obtain a 4-star rating to rate lower just so he or she may receive additional grant money skews the accuracy of the rating system, so parents are not receiving a true picture of which programs are of good quality. It also gives a false impression that going through the parent-aware process improves the quality of the child care program when providers are encouraged to rate low and then re-rate higher for the grant money alone. The reality is there are thousands of high-quality family child care programs in Minnesota who have chosen not to participate in parent-aware. Please keep in mind that 78% of licensed family child care providers have stated they have considered closing their doors, and of those, 92% have stated one of the reasons is overburdensome paperwork and regulations. Please consider the repercussions for family child care when you are tying grant money to the parent-aware rating system. Family child care providers desperately need reform. We cannot support in good conscience a bill marked as a solution to address the child care crisis with funds that are tied to the parent-aware rating system. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Seidel. Are there any other persons in the audience that wish to? I'm sorry, what? All right. At this time, Senator Nelson, do you have any final words?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to thank my testifiers today. And I also want to thank Ms. Seidel for accurately stating the large number of family child care providers who are closing. Now, that could be for a variety of reasons. Perhaps they've chosen, their children aren't home any longer, and they've chosen to go into the workforce outside the home. But I have to say, Ms. Seidel was correct when she said that regulatory reform is needed. We have seen an intense pressure put on family child care providers. I know your interim committees fully examined that, and that is a fact. I will say this is not the regulatory relief bill that some are looking for, but it will be paired with regulatory relief bills. You might recall last session we passed the Fix-It ticket. Actually, that was my legislation that actually got to fixing issues rather than having to our providers needing to post on their front door for years. Even after some sort of rule infraction had been met, it still had to be posted on their door. We now have the Fix-It ticket that allows it to be fixed, and there's no correction order. I believe there will be a Fix-It ticket 2 coming this year as well. But again, this is one piece of it, which is actually today's bill 537 is one piece, which is actually helping people begin the journey of becoming child care providers. And as we said, most of parent-aware providers are family child care providers. The last thing I will tell you is I was out knocking on doors throughout this past fall. I was amazed at the number of people who brought up family child care. And they love family child care, and they're very worried about their providers closing their doors. So we do need to look at that regulatory relief. However, Parent Aware is very important when it comes to quality and helping make sure that our students are prepared for kindergarten. Parent Aware providers are going above and beyond the health and safety requirements, and they are sharing that with families that are looking for that quality care. I want to thank the co-sponsors of this bill as well, Senator Eakin and Senator Simonson, Senator Weber, who was the chair of the interim committee looking at these issues, and Senator Ralph. I thank you for your great support and ask for a favorable passage of this provision.
All right. And thank you, Senator Nelson. At this time, is there any other discussion, Senator Friends? I'd like to move it along. So,
thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess we just have to note for the record, Senator, that I'm supportive of your bill, but we have MACCP testifying against it, and they represent the family and-home providers. So I'd encourage all the stakeholders here to just take a moment to ask ourselves if we are doing this for rural child care, and we are. How can we reconcile those two? Seems to be problematic to go forward with this kind of testimony, which is honestly, Congressman, exactly what I heard in my district. So just putting it out there that it would be great if we could move forward and get on the same page. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a final comment. Senator Friends, that is a very good idea, and it is kind of frustrating when we don't have that unified vision. I will say I did talk to other providers, FCCI, and there's a third group as well, and they've not taken a position on this bill yet. But I do think it would be helpful to have that one unified position. And I think it's important to know, too, I want to know how many providers are represented in each group and how are these positions come to. I don't know if this was a personal position or if the members had been surveyed. So those are all things that we need to know as policymakers. I appreciate you bringing that forward.
Thank you. If there's nothing further, then this bill will be laid over for possible inclusion. Thank you, Senator Nelson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, what? And if the testifiers for 538 could come forward.
All right, next up we have Senate File 538, Senator Ralph. Then for testifiers, it looks like we have Mr. Dorman and Mr. Marquardt up first and second. So if you guys want to come to the table again. Welcome to your committee, Senator Ralph. Go ahead and get started as soon as you're ready. And just for the testifiers, again, we're running considerably behind, so if we can just keep our remarks a little bit short and to the bill as much as possible, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill, Senate File 538, is a sort of companion to the bill that we just heard. What this bill will do is create a grant program to allow child care providers in rural Minnesota to apply for a grant for expansion, renovation, addition of space, or building a new building to be able to provide child care. This is a matching program, so the person seeking the grant will have to provide 50% of the money for that project. With that, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Dorman.
Sure.
And we'll go from there.
Mr. Chair, members, thank you. I won't say too much because it would be duplicative to what I said in the last bill, but I do want to make a couple of points about both bills. First of all, the first bill really isn't tied to Parent Aware. You don't have to be in the program to take advantage of it. This bill is, but it's a very low threshold. You have to sign up for the program. But our organization does have concerns about Parent Aware. I think that Senator Friends laid them out. We understand that. That's really not being addressed in either of these bills, but frankly, there's a funding problem. I mean, I heard from the Community Child Care Center in Albert Lee about both of these bills, and she said this is great. It'll really help, but it's not the big solution. The Parent Aware program itself is underfunded, and the standards we've set don't match the funding. So I think there is significant problems in the Parent Aware program, but neither of these bills really are the proper vehicle to address that.
All right.
Thank you. Go ahead. Start when you're ready to state your name for the record again.
Good morning. My name is Heidi Hagel-Braid, again from First Children's Finance. As I mentioned earlier, we work on the business side of childcare, and we are a community development financial institution. Part of our core work is providing business development services and lending to child care providers. To my knowledge, we are the only CDFI in the country that is devoted exclusively to child care lending. I am in support of this bill, as is our organization, because providing access to capital for childcare entrepreneurs is incredibly important. We've established a loan fund since 1997. We've lent $12 million to childcare businesses, including $3.5 million to childcare programs in Greater Minnesota over our history. Our organization has the capacity, expertise, and ability to build childcare supply by incentivizing new slot creation through financing packages. Many folks who are in the business of childcare are not savvy in being able to access capital, and so being able to create additional pathways to financing is really important to build the supply of childcare in rural Minnesota. As our state struggles with childcare deserts, you have the opportunity to play an important role in providing capital to incentivize new businesses or to grow the footprint of programs that are ready to expand. I encourage you to consider investing resources to create the conditions that are supportive to childcare lending, including adequate capital from both public and private sources, guarantees and credit enhancements, operational dollars for highly specialized technical assistance, and robust evaluation to measure impact. In closing, I ask for your support of Senate File 538. I believe this funding has the potential to change the landscape of childcare in Greater Minnesota and to create vibrant rural economies. Thank you for the opportunity to share this information with you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. And members, we're going to go through our testifiers and then hold our questions till the end for the testifiers and Senator Ralph. Next up, we have Scott Marquardt and Julie Seidel. And then finally, after Mr. Marquardt is done, if Stacy Stout wants to switch Mr. Marquardt's spots, that would be great. Go ahead and get started as soon as you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I'm Scott Marquardt with Southwest Initiative Foundation, and I will be brief because I know you're pressed on time. I just want to call out a couple items in Senate File 538 that are a particular interest to us and something that I think is critically important to the child care ecosystem in Greater Minnesota. The fact that this bill addresses both nonprofit or for-profit child care providers, both family and center-based, is huge. As stated in the testimony on the first bill, we absolutely need both solutions, and the importance of family child care in Greater Minnesota cannot really be quantified. As somebody who sees a lot of pro formas and business plans for their day job, I was particularly excited about the eligible uses of funds in this particular bill, from land acquisition to pre-design, design, renovation, and equipment and furnishings. I think that's huge as you think about the cost barriers and the financial barriers for somebody to get to expand their facility or to open it up. Some of those costs are huge, and the fact that this bill addresses those is something that is really needed in Greater Minnesota. I just want to close by saying we see a lot of examples of innovation in our 18 counties between schools, businesses, hospitals, family child care providers, nursing homes, and the faith community to address this. And if you've seen one, you've seen one because they're so unique and place-based, and this bill will absolutely help catalyze some of the innovative solutions that are happening in our region right now throughout Greater Minnesota that are needed. So I greatly appreciate the flexibility and the breadth of the uses of funds and the scope here. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Seidel, as soon as you're ready.
Julie Seidel with MACCP. Our stance on this bill is the same. There's a couple of different things that I wanted to talk about in this bill, and one of them is the bill says that you must increase capacity in order to use this funding. For family child care, we don't have that ability to increase capacity. We can't add on classrooms, bring in more teachers and more aides. We're restricted by the number of children we're allowed by our license. For 2 providers licensed together, the max is 14 children, and there is no way to increase that. So this funding of increasing capacity is going to be pretty impossible for family child care to be involved in. And then there was a question before about where our position comes from. MECCP does a lot of surveys with our providers. They're very controlled surveys. We make sure that they are done by family child care only. And our survey information is actually used quite frequently here by senators. We had a survey of 8,000 child care providers and had a 33% return rate on that survey. So the information that we give, the stance that we take on our bills is surveys to family child care providers and child care providers only. These are not personal opinions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stout. Go ahead as soon as you're ready.
Thank you. I'm Stacy Stout with the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. As I mentioned in my testimony for the previous bill, I've laid out the reasons as to why we need childcare, why we need to be addressing our childcare shortage, and therefore we are also very supportive of this bill. We like that it is makes the opportunity for each community to address its unique needs. And we also I want to reiterate that we're very supportive of our parent aware system in this state. It is the quality rating system that is key to ensuring that our kids will start kindergarten ready. And that is a big piece toward closing our achievement gap. So I understand there are concerns with how providers are accessing it, and I think this bill gets at it's just one piece of solving that bigger piece of the puzzle. And so it's a matter of ensuring that providers have access to not only growing or starting a new program and being a provider in a community, but also having access to the parent aware system and providing that quality care. So therefore, we want to express our support for this, and we hope that you'll support it going forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. And to the other testifiers, members, are there any questions for either Senator Ralph or the testifiers on the Senate file? Senator Cran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think these programs, they're great, but I think we heard testimony from the home daycare providers that the parent aware process doesn't really work well for them already. and I think there's some serious issues. And to tie another funding stream, although it's got a pretty big dollar amount tied to it, to tie another program to that, or another funding stream to the parent aware program without first really acknowledging and recognizing or revamping the child aware or the parent aware program to accommodate and fairly rate in-home daycare providers, which is the greatest need and the greatest burden that we have placed upon it. This would appear to put another barrier in access to programs and funding for in-home daycare providers. So I would encourage that we work on modifying both of those programs before we move forward with any of this funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Karen. Senator Abler?
Well, thank you, and I appreciate all the ideas that are being brought forward. This is a great challenge, and especially in greater Minnesota, but I just want to remind folks when people like Ms. Seidel come that they actually have to pay someone to take their job for the day. And many of the people in the audience, God bless us, this is our job. We get paid to be here. And so hearing one person actually represents a whole bunch of people who are just up to their necks. And so as we look for ways to help, we want to make sure we don't cause any harm. And so that's on my mind. And appreciate the Chamber coming forward. And I know the need, and quality matters, access matters, and that's why we get the big bucks to be here to decide how to handle this. So, but it's really important we do something, and particularly in the policy streamlining, and the money's going to be pretty tight coming up.
Thank you, Senator Abler. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for your important work on this, Senator Ralph. With that, if you have any closing comments, go ahead and do that, and then if you'd like to move your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess a couple of things. First of all, I agree with the comments here regarding looking at the tying of the funding to Parent Aware, and that there are issues, and I think that as an ongoing inquiry we need to address that, whether it's through this bill or through other legislation, which I am aware that we are working on in terms of regulation. I have some bills. I know many of the members of this committee and other committees have a significant number of bills that are aimed at reducing paperwork, removing barriers, streamlining processes, and I think that we can again work with the stakeholders and certainly welcome their participation. So I would ask that this bill do move forward with the understanding that this will be addressed as we go forward. So at this point I would move that this bill pass and be referred to the Committee on Capital Investment.
Senator Ralph moves Senate File 538 be re-referred to Capital Investment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion does prevail. Thank you, Senator Ralph. Next up, we will have Senate File 979, Senator Kiffmeyer.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the bill.
Thank you. Senator Abler moves the bill. Senator Kiffmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Very glad to be before you today. It was fun listening in the back of the room to all the discussion, and I appreciate your consideration. So Senate File 79, Mr. Chair, if you wouldn't mind, if someone could move the A2 amendment.
Senator Abler moves the A2 amendment. All in favor? Opposed? No. Amendment is adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The amendment does not make any essential change at all to the language of this bill other than lining it up so that it works better with the license holders and all of that. And so thank you very much. Mr. Chair, members, in regards to in-home family child care, this is the largest number of providers and we are losing them rapidly. I have a testifier here with me today who is a practitioner with many, many years of experience who works statewide with other providers and gives us valuable information on the impact and what is the material effect. One thing for us as legislators is to propose bills that have a meaningful impact in regards to the actual providers. So we have hearings on registered nurses, we have hearings on doctors, we have them come before us, the actual providers, and tell us, how does this bill impact them? What does it do for them? How does it benefit the people of Minnesota? And so this bill will do that. It just lines up the training requirements so that the burden, the regulatory burden, and the keeping track of all of that paperwork, all of those requirements, it lines it up so that it is better able to be accomplished by providers. Remember that the in-home family child care providers are generally women-owned, one-person employee of that home. They are the caretaker, paperwork doer, financial accountants. They are everything in the in-home family child care. So when center providers have a lot of other types of support, in-home family child care providers, they themselves are the ones who have to do it all. So we need to include their voice, or we will not be able to successfully accommodate the need out there. So with that, Mr. Chair, that is my presentation, and would like to leave the rest of the testimony to my testifier.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Ms. Seidel.
Good morning. Julie Seidel, Public Policy Director for MACCP. Back in, I believe it was 2016, I may be wrong with the year, we had passed legislation clarifying trainings that to be required on annual basis during our licensing period. We're each licensed at a different date depending on when you started. My license runs from October 1st to September 30th. We were assured by DHS at that time that this new legislation would be applied to all trainings, including the trainings that are only required every 2 or 5 years. However, upon implementation, DHS is still requiring training for first aid, CPR, SUIDS, abusive head trauma, and car safety classes to be completed within the same month it was previously taken. Unfortunately, these classes are not available all 12 months out of a year. Classes are canceled due to low participation, trainers becoming ill, or in the case of the last 2 weeks, weather. I have 2 notices right here from Think Small, which is one of our largest trainings, and in the last 2 weeks they have canceled all of their classes, leaving providers to scramble to get to these trainings. What happens if we don't have that training within the same month? We're given a correction order. The correction order then, of course, is posted now on the internet for 4 years for everybody to see that we failed to complete our first aid class or CPR class, when in fact we didn't fail to complete it, we failed to complete it within that particular month. By allowing child care providers to complete these classes any month prior to our licensing expiration, it will relieve this undue stress upon providers when these classes are canceled or unavailable. I'm hoping that this bill will have some bipartisan support here today because it does give some great relief to providers. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the members? With that, Senator Kiffmeyer, any final words?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and members, there are many regulatory burdens that are unnecessary. There are those that we can lighten and make form more smoothly with the whole process, okay? This is one bill. We have another bill coming up after this also that has to do with the same subject area of training. There are probably about another 16 bills that each in their own way have an effect. And if you're wondering why people leave this profession, it is these kinds of things that will do that. They love children. They love caring for them. They love having them in their home. They are passionate. They are committed. These are statewide organizations that are speaking as one voice here to you, with many, many members that read through these bills, read through these issues, attend the stakeholder meetings, communicate, work very, very hard on their own dime. They are not paid to do it. They do it as a labor of love because they care for the children and their families that they have an intense bond with that they want to continue. So, Mr. Chair and members, thank you for hearing this bill, and I hope to see you more often as we address this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kiffmeyer. With that, Senator Hoffman, would you move that this 979 be recommended to pass and referred to the floor and placed on general orders? As amended. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And the motion's passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Thank you. Next, Senator Weber.
Mr. Chair, I'll move Senate File 886 for Senator Weber.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. I would also mention there is an author's amendment.
Yes. Someone want to move the amendment, please? Senator Curran? You move the A19 amendment?
I move the amendment. What is the amendment? A1? I don't have it.
All those in favor?
Is the amendment A1?
It's
I move the amendment to Senate File 886, Amendment 29.
any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? The amendment is. Thank you. Senator Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. Yes, I'm pleased to be in front of you today to offer Senate File number 886 as amended. And as was mentioned earlier, we had a series of child care hearings around the state of Minnesota this past summer. One of the issues that came forward, and one of the issues that was actually brought to me this session in bill form, was a question concerning licensing interpretation disputes. Oftentimes, and it's important to remember, of course, that the state makes the rules. However, in the situation of in-home daycare providers, counties are in charge of licensing and inspections. And as a result, sometimes there are findings on the part of the county that the provider strongly believes are contrary to what the state rules are. And so in this particular situation, this particular bill would allow a provider to request that an interpretation or clarification be obtained from the Department of Human Services before a correction order would be issued related to that interpretation. The purpose of the amendment was also to make sure that the provider was also informed of the communications that existed between the county licensor and the department as it relates to the particular issue. And I think in the hearings that we had here in St. Paul, as well as the 4 hearings that were held around the state of Minnesota, this particular issue was raised every single time. And so to further address that, I would then, Mr. Chairman, like to turn the testifiers table over to Julie Seidel.
Ms. Seidel.
Good morning again. Julie Seidel with MACCP. This bill does actually quite a few different things. One thing it does that I feel is the best part of it is it's going to empower providers. It's a very intimidating situation when a licensing inspector is in your home and they're going through every aspect of not only your home but your life, what you're doing, things in your home, and providers tend to be intimidated by that. A licensor literally holds your livelihood in their hands. When a licensor, says they're going to give you a correction order and you don't agree with it, providers are worried about confronting them on this. This will give us in law that they can simply say, I dispute that, and the licensor now has to go back to DHS and get clarification on that rule. It kind of takes the intimidation process out of it because it's in law, it's something that the licensor now has to do versus a provider pushing and possibly irritating the licensor and having some backlash with that. And I will say that's not every single licensor, it's not every single county, but it is out there, and those licensors are very intimidating and have caused some havoc. Another thing that it does is it will actually end up saving quite a bit of time actually and money for DHS because we're going to cut these correction orders that are wrongly issued off before they're even issued. Once you're given a correction order, there's time for the correction order to be processed. It needs to be sent down to DHS. The provider is then notified. There is I believe it's a 10-day period in order for the provider to ask for a reconsideration. And then most of the time it's anywhere from 60 days to 6 months before the provider is told whether the correction order stands or not. This gives a provider some input. It stops those correction orders from happening up front, so it will save time and it will save money and it will save humiliation for providers having a correction order listed on the internet for possibly up to 6 months that was given to them in error.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ms. Thank you, Ms. Seidel. Ms. Fraser, if you could come forward. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I'm Beth Fraser. I'm the Policy, Legislation, and Stakeholder Engagement Manager for the Licensing Division of the Department of Human Services. And I want to thank Senator Weber for all of his work on child care issues and traveling the state this summer. We have enjoyed working with him and with many of you. And learning more about the issues and the providers' concerns. To the bill itself, as we looked at the bill itself, we thought the bill was workable because the way that the system works for family child care providers is the state issues the license but works with county licensors to monitor compliance. And so county licensors go out and do the inspection. They are allowed to issue correction orders, and in the vast majority of cases actually find that people are in full compliance. As we're beginning to get data on the number of correction orders, it's becoming clearer and clearer that the vast majority have no correction orders issued. And so as we looked at as the bill as introduced, we thought, well, this could work. It would basically probably involve a phone call to DHS from the licensor. We would be able to look at the issue and consult with them and let them know, oh, I'm sorry, that is not the interpretation of the rule. In that case, you should not issue a correction order. Or, yes, that is our interpretation of the rule. With the amendment, which we only just saw, we are not, we have concerns about the amendment because we had been imagining a phone call, an informal process in which there would be clarification. The amendment implies that there is a written process with correspondence, with multiple people weighing in, which is a process that we do allow for reconsideration of correction orders that had already been issued. So we do have concerns about the amendment that was added to the bill because it seems to be moving the reconsideration process up further and would bog down the process of finalizing the inspection results and finalizing whether or not a correction order should be issued. I do want to say part of why we were comfortable with the bill as introduced is we do get calls from licensors frequently. And so this would not be unusual. It would solidify the process, make sure that both licensors and providers knew that this was an option. If there was a question about the rule and how it should be applied and whether the licensor understood it or not, or whether the provider perhaps just had questions about it. So we do this. We think that putting this in statute, the bill as introduced, is fine. We're happy to do that, but we do have pause about the amendment.
Thank you. Senator Weber, did you wish to respond to this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand what was said. I do think, however, that there are also times that were revealed during our hearings that sometimes there were comments made. There was an oral statement that, well, yes, this isn't, or yes, this is, and then afterwards there's denial of that particular situation. And so that's why the in writing was inserted in there. And also, I believe that my testifier, Ms. Seidel, would like to comment on that also, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Seidel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason we added the written portion in it is exactly what Senator Weber said, is that it depends on the day and who you speak to down at DHS. You may be told one day that, yes, you're in compliance, and the next day you're not in compliance. Back in 2013, DHS was allocated funds to start an anonymous email system for providers and then a FAQ page on their website, which they still have not done. When we don't get things in writing from DHS, it comes back to bite us. Everything that we do when we ask a question, are we in compliance of regulations, we want it in writing. The way things go right now, we don't know from day to day if we are truly within compliance because of the way that they reinterpret rules and statutes. That is why we're requesting it to be in writing. Also, during the correction order reconsideration process, the provider is allowed to give a statement as to why they don't feel it's a proper correction order. DHS then goes back to licensing. Licensing is allowed to rebut that information, but it never comes back to the provider. The provider never has a say. The licensor and the provider are the two people that were in the home that know what the situation was, what the regulation is supposed to be, and we're not allowing providers the chance to defend themselves and to say, no, that is not what happened, that is not what I said. We're leaving it up to the licensor. We want this in writing, and we want the providers to be able to be part of this process.
All right. Members, Senator Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of things I think we want to think about, and since there are attorneys on this around this table, I'm glad you smiled on that one. It was. You look at a possibility of what I understand the state saying is that it could change our reconsideration process, which then gets heavily involved with multiple people giving you the correct answer, hence a compliance discussion, versus the way it was originally written. And what I hear you say is more of a technical assistance approach to that, which, you know, you could get the best of both worlds if the technical assistance piece was done via an email, isn't that? And again, I've never claimed to be an attorney and never played one either in a play, but would you not allow the best of both worlds by getting some technical assistance, which is what people really need, and at the same time having some verification or some ability to say, look, you did say that in writing and it's in an email stance. And I don't know if that needs to go to judiciary to have that conversation or if that even gets to it. Because then there's another thing. No, there's another thing. With technical assistance, you know, you have a system that's trying to get away from the different inconsistencies in how counties interpret the rules, right? And that is even in my area. You have one house that, you know, it says they got to have sheetrock in the basement in order to get licensed, even though they were licensed before they built the new house. Yet down the street, there's a house that doesn't have sheetrock in their lower level, and they've had a license forever. And there's just this inconsistent approach, and that's dependent on the licensure itself. And I know the state has been working on trying to fix that system. So, you know, with that, Mr. Chair and members, I don't know if we're trying to get to the root example here by either providing technical assistance or compliance, but maybe we could mend both of those together. Thoughts?
Senator Abler?
Well, I think you're on the right track. And Ms. Fraser, I think if this would go forward, you'd actually have less reconsideration requests because you'd get them sorted out ahead of time. And is this going to go to the floor? Is that the plan, or where is this?
Laid over.
Oh, laid over. All right. So this is laid over. There's time to work it through. But I want to encourage the department to kind of learn a little bit from maybe. It's different being in the office than it is being out in the countryside. And there are, from the testimony privately, there are some licensors who have a kind of a power trip going, and if you go around them, they will punish you. And that's not an uncommon thing. It's not the average one, but there are some individuals for whom it is very risky for the license holder to even attempt to ask a question of somebody, and there's a bill about a confidential helpline and all that. So that's what we're working at here. So I just urge the department, as this moves forward, and it really ought to, I think, to find a way to accommodate what the purpose of the bill is and actually help actually enforce the consistency that you would want to see. I think that the surprise that comes on a lot of times with staff at the home office is that they think everybody reads all the memos and knows all the standards that you just presume to be uniform, and they're absolutely not uniform. So thank you.
Senator Curran, I think Ms. Fraser would like to respond to that, and then I'll come.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senators, the department is in the process. We understand, we have heard that there are challenges between county licensors and providers, and are in the process of beginning to do a lot more training with county licensors. We plan over the next year to begin going out and doing site visits with county licensors to see how they interact with providers, to provide them with technical assistance, to provide them with advice about how to interact, how to be doing their work. And so we understand that that is an issue, and we are in the process of addressing it. We are not done. We understand that it is an ongoing issue, but we are in the beginning stages of addressing that now that we have the staff in place to do so. The other thing about the reconsideration process is that we are looking at the reconsideration process and looking at making changes to it administratively so that providers do get an opportunity to respond to what the county licensors have said when there are disputes. And so that would seem to address what Ms. Seidel was saying. It seems like that this bill is moving the reconsideration process up, and we do think it's an important piece of due process, that we need to have a reconsideration process after there has been a correction order. And I mean, as we are imagining, as we were talking through, how would we, if this were passed, how would we implement it? I mean, we would expect that the provider would want to know, was DHS consulted, did they call? And that if a correction order was ultimately issued, that we would instruct counties in that correction order to say, after consultation with DHS, they confirmed that, this is the standard. That's why you're getting a correction order. Or there would not be a correction order if they consulted with us and we said, no, I'm sorry, county licensor, that's not how you should be applying this rule. So, and if there was a broader statewide application, we're going to be doing more and more to educate the county licensors statewide. So if, for example, there's a question, it's like, wow, that county licensor totally misunderstood that. That might be an issue more broadly. We should make sure that all county licensors know that this rule should be applied in this way. So we do understand that there's a need for a feedback loop, that providers will want to know that the department was consulted, and that we need to do more to work with counties and make sure that they are applying the rules uniformly and using the standards that the state has set.
Thank you. Senator Coran, just before you do that, I'm letting this run because I think this is a very important issue. This whole issue of the consistency of enforcement has come up in many instances, and we are actually looking at other legislation to try and help that. So I wanted this discussion to continue on that fashion. So Senator Coran, if we can do that, and then we'll wrap this up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Frazier, how long has the agency had the responsibility of overseeing licensing for daycare providers?
Mr. Chair and Senator Coran, I believe it's since 1987.
Okay, so for a long time. Sorry, Mr. Chair. So for a long time, what I'm always troubled with is we're beginning to look at, or we're starting to discover, or we're going to try harder, and I like this bill a lot. I like the full documentation and that we have due process and rights for the child care providers. I'm less concerned that it may be difficult for you to implement, but I absolutely think we should have a written opinion that a licensed daycare provider can hold as proof that this decision has been made. And again, we have to remove the opportunity that the opinion changes based on who they talk to on any given day. Most of our counties operate on the rules that you provide and oversight in how they operate. And so I'm just troubled that even today you're still at, well, we're going to try and figure this out. We're going to try and put something in place. We've had a complete collapse, and I believe the agency's been responsible for oversight and licensing, and I think they've been part of the issue why so many people have left this business. We're in a catastrophic business environment for our child care providers. I think every testifier here has highlighted that. So when we have somebody, or we have a process that appears to give an independent provider real rights when their government acts against them, it's not an inconvenience. This is their lifeline. This is their livelihood. And so I want to see the agency's attitude change towards, we're actually here to serve. We want to provide safety and security, but to acknowledge that we're just working on it. You've been doing this for decades. And so I think the attitude has to change and to fully recognize the challenges which you've imposed on the entire process. And I want to see a can-do attitude that, yes, we want to document a chain of activities that provides due diligence and process for every person who has been accused of a violation or whatever that is, because this really affects their livelihood. And so I would really like to see the agency acknowledge that it's been your sole responsibility. And we can't wait for another 3 years about how we'll get better. It needs to start now. So I think we need to do something different, and I'd like to hear new ideas from the agency, not the providers fighting for their livelihood on a daily basis. So thank you.
Thank you. Senator Eakin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was wondering, there's a lot of focus on the consistency and the lack of understanding of the rules, but there seems to be it's not just among the license or the county licensors, but even in the department, according to what Ms. Seidel was testifying to, sometimes there's people in the department itself that have conflicting views of what the rules mean, and it depends on who you're talking to, what response you're going to get. So I'm wondering if sometimes this results in a focus on the rule itself, whether there needs to be work on the rule, not just educating people about the rules, but work on the rules themselves to make them more consistent and understandable and clearer to people. Are there situations where it's resulted in rules being changed in order to bring consistency and understanding to the process?
Ms. Seidel? Sorry, Ms. Fraser.
To Ms. Fraser.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Eakin. That's a really great question. And we are, I believe yesterday we posted to our website a new document that a new version of the checklist for the self-monitoring checklist for providers that provides all of the rules that need to be followed for family child care providers, that has in more plain language exactly what needs to be done. So that is something we are doing. In terms of the rules, they are old and do need to be updated, and we would love to work with you all on modernizing the rules. Many other states have been looking at other ways of monitoring, of setting up their licensing systems and looking at lining up violations with the risk that they pose to the child, recognizing that not all violations pose equal risk to the child. And we would love to work with you all and really look at modernizing our system so that it works better for everyone involved.
Senator Franz.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to jump in here on behalf of Senator Weber and say, what we're hoping for is to give providers greater participation and maybe some notice in the chance of dispute. So I applaud the effort there, Senator Weber. Just a thought would be that if there is a provider who does want to dispute, if the licensor has to reach out to the department, that some type of notice back to the provider, an email, hey, I talked to them, you're right, or I talked to them and we're going to stand by our, something that allows the provider not just to get an answer for that provider, but to feel like they're a little bit more of the dispute process might be helpful to us. Just a thought, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this? Ms. Seidel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I don't mean any disrespect to DHS here, but with DHS, everything is always in process. In 2013, as I stated before, they were allocated funds and they were asked to do an anonymous email system. They have not kept it anonymous. They have basically turned providers over to their licensors. They were asked to put a FAQ page on their website that has not been done yet, and they were asked to create a handbook for child care providers. This has been 6 years in the process. We don't have another 6 years to wait for DHS for their process. When she's talking about a simple phone call to DHS, how do we know that the licensor has made that phone call, and how do we know what that answer is from DHS? That's why we're asking for this in writing. If we would have had this anonymous email system and the FAQ page 6 years ago, imagine the amount of questions that could have been asked, posted on the FAQ page for not only providers to look at, for licensors to look at. Imagine the erroneous correction orders that never would have happened. The time, the money, the employees that wouldn't have to have been wasted to take care of this. 6 years in a process is ridiculous. We're tired of waiting for the process. I have been doing this for 17 years. I don't want to do anything else. And I am this close to closing my doors and moving from my home to be done with it. And it's not about the children. It's not about the families I serve. It's about DHS. It has to stop somewhere. And it has to stop today. Providers do not have 6 years. We have been going through this heavily for the last 8 years, hanging on for dear life. I'm tired. My hands are tired. My knuckles are white. I'm tired of hanging on. Stop always in process. Do something and do it now. I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. Senator Weber, anything further?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that Ms. Seidel has adequately summarized a lot of what we heard in our daycare working group hearings. And I appreciate the comments that Ms. Fisher made regarding the plans that they have. But I don't see where this bill actually stands in the way of them accomplishing that. But I do think it sends two important messages. It says, first message is to the department, we intend to take care of some of these problems that are out there. And secondly, it sends a message of hope to the providers that are out there that need us to act on their behalf. Because if we don't, the problems that we have that have been adequately and definitely outlined in this whole process as it relates to childcare and the loss of providers will just continue and continue and continue. And then we, as the electeds, will have failed in our responsibility. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Weber. With that, I would lay Senate File 886 over for possible inclusion. Thank you to all for your testimony.